This is the MochaFootball.com.
The MochaFootball.com.
This is the MochaFootball.com weekly podcast. Flick. Hey everybody, we're back. This is the first one. It's been a long time. Finally, football is back. You know, we're watching a little bit of the preseason in the NFL. We're seeing some clips from, the college ranks. And how are you feeling about just football being back? Specifically Mocha football, getting started.
I'm extremely excited and happy that the 2016 season is officially underway. We got a lot to talk about. I'm feeling very positive for Montgomery County's chances going into the season, not only for a state championship, but also individual players accumulating big accolades. Once again, just like last year, we have a very, very strong contingent of individual players at various positions that will vie for all-state accolades.
Yep, absolutely. And, first and foremost, to all the kids out there, you're going through, if you're a senior, you're going through your last training camp in high school. If you're a young kid, you're looking to make your name. We just want to thank you for participating in this sport and participating in Montgomery County, because you're the reason why we're so passionate about what we're doing and passionate about coming out to the games and covering it and everything like that. So just quick thanks to the kids and also to the parents and the coaches as well. Thank you so much for preparing these kids for battle every single week, and we look forward to everything that's going to go down. Okay, so we're starting this thing out. These are the preview podcasts, getting ready for the season, and we're starting out with the 3A. We're gonna have our cool review. We're gonna be talking about basically what happened last season and how that's probably gonna kind of filter into next season. So basically in the 3A, right now we have two sides of 3A, and with Damascus winning the 3A championship last year, we are now in a spot where we have the current reigning kings of the 3A in Montgomery County. That's always a great thing. Seneca Valley last year had a very strong year. The only team they lost to was Damascus. They pulled off I don't know if you would call it an upset, but it was definitely a big time win versus Ligonor in the playoffs to set up another matchup with Damascus the following week. That pretty much went the way we thought it was going to go at the beginning of last season. And at the beginning of last season, we kind of detailed a little bit about the other side of the 3A with Blake, with Magruder, with Watkins Mill, obviously, with Wheaton. Those teams, they had an opportunity to make the playoffs that they probably never really had before. This readjusting of the divisions happened. We ended up coming up on top in the playoff game. They ended up playing Potomac in the second round. Potomac had a bunch of good athletes. It was a little bit too much for Wheaton to handle. And filtering into this year, all of those teams on that side of it are in the same kind of spot. So, Damon, talk about just last year, basically how you think some of the stuff is going to filter into this year and springboard us into 2016 season.
It's business as usual in my mind. Montgomery County continues their streak of at least one state champion with Damascus last year, as you mentioned. That's now 3 in a row for Montgomery County. After a lot of doom and gloom talk, I think the county has proved that we're back in that position where we have been for such a long time as the dominant county for public school football. With that being said, I expect that to continue. this year. In 3A, Damascus is hands down one of the favorites returning, even with the loss of Jake Funk and several other players from the 2015 team. Damascus is the type of program that they don't need to rebuild; they just reload,
Right.
and they've done so with the roster that they have coming back this season.
Right.
If you look over to Seneca Valley, on paper, this should be their year. They have a lot of kids who are now seniors that have been in the program as starters for 2, even 3, and in some cases 4 seasons. So there definitely is a kid or 2 that has started since they were a freshman.
Right.
So this should be their time. I mean, outside of Damascus, nobody's going to look at you crazy if you say Seneca Valley is the favorite to win the 3A state championship.
Right.
Unfortunately, for both of those teams, they have to go through the region of death, which is 3A West, which includes teams like Ligonor, Oakdale, several other teams that may make a run for the playoffs, like Urbana. If we want to look at our own county, we have Poolsville that are fighting an uphill battle to try to make it in.
Right.
Being in 3A West, but Poolsville is a solid program. They're still experiencing the growing pains of going from 2A to 3A, but I expect them to have a better season than they did last year.
Right.
But overall, if we're just looking at 3A, I'm extremely confident, extremely positive as to what the season will bring, especially if you look over in the 3A South. That's a wide open region. It's one of the, not only 3A, but statewide, I think it's the most wide open region in terms as you don't have 1 or 2 hands down guaranteed playoff teams.
Right.
It's anybody's game, and that bodes well for the 5 teams out of Montgomery County in that region. Number 1 on the list is Watkins Mill. I'm extremely high on them this year.
Right.
I expect them to build on their playoff appearance last year. Blake has been making moves, even though they're coming off of a not so stellar season record-wise.
Yeah.
Looking at the games themselves, you can just tell they're much more competitive now that Coach Anderson's at the helm. They have several solid kids, preseason, all MoCo players. Magruder has made strides over the past couple of years, and you can never count out a team like Rockville with the offense that they run.
Right.
And Wheaton, they're coming off a playoff appearance last year, so they're expecting to build on that too. So it should be real exciting to watch 3A this season.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree with you. I think the 3A in Montgomery County is probably most interesting because of the dynamic that you have with Watkins Mill. You can throw Blake in there, Wheaton, and the opportunity they may have to, make some noise in the playoffs. All of those teams should be looking to not only make the playoffs, but possibly have a home game. I think that's very exciting for all of us in MoCo. I know some people might, feel some kind of way about it because they're in a different division. They, feel like if they're over there, it would have been different for their team and their outlook. But, you can only play what you can play. And, for us in MoCo, we like it because it just gives, that's more for us to talk about, more for us to pay attention to, and it puts another, hat in the ring, and that's always a good thing. We're going to get into basically, these are the 5 big things, during the season, we're gonna basically detail some of the 5 bigger, things that are going on in the county, whether it's the 5 biggest games, whatever situation is going on. But for the preview podcast, we're gonna, just go overall with the 3A, the 5 big things that we're looking at. And the first one that I kind of want to talk about, and obviously we're gonna start with the champs. Damascus is losing a kid that, calling him an all-time great sometimes feels like it's almost kind of underappreciating him a little bit. This kid was amazing last year in Jake Funk. Obviously Damascus is a program that's withstood multiple great players leaving year after year after year, but there's something different about this one. It feels like this kid meant so much to the team, meant so much to that community, and losing him, for most schools would be a death blow. But for Damascus, because they have a Markus Vinson coming back, right? Because they have his little brother Jordan Funk coming back. Bradshaw's coming back. The youngest of the Bradshaw boys are coming back. It's one of those situations where it feels like they're gonna be right there again at the top, obviously, and they're gonna be almost more of a dynamic team overall than they were last year, because of some of the things that they have coming back and the way that the team is structured and everything like that. Now, are they going to be better? That's the question, right? But it feels like there's going to be more of an emphasis on getting multiple people the ball. The distribution of the touches on offense. I think that Coach Wallach is going to have, a lot of good people to go to when it comes on to different situations. There's a lot of different flavors where, he can use guys in different ways to get whatever job done he needs to, at goal line, whatever the case may be. He could bring in different guys to get the job done in those kind of situations. Jake was the perfect blend of speed and power and finesse. He basically had it all. But this year, I believe what they can do is use a guy like Ben Locust for the power part when they need those kind of situations. And then now you can have a guy like Markus for the speed anytime you need that ability to get to the edge. Anytime those situations come about, you have a guy like Markus Vinson to go to on the offensive side of the ball. So while it may be different than having everything in one package, and you always love having everything in one package, now they can have different kinds of options to go to. So with that being said, how do you see Damascus withstanding the loss of an iconic legendary figure in Jake Funk? And do you think that they're set up to possibly replicate some of the success they had last year? And do you think they're going to be anywhere near as dominant as they were last year?
Yeah, that is actually an easy question for me. I expect to see little to no drop-off from the Swarming Hornets in 2016. As dynamic as Jake Funk was, as dominant as the older Bradshaw brother was, as good as Grimes was, as crazy as it sounds, I don't see much of a drop-off.
Right.
And that just goes to they have running in Damascus. They reload players. I don't know how many times I can say that. There's not going to be much of a drop-off. Like I mentioned earlier with Seneca Valley, there are kids on this roster that this is not their first rodeo. They've been on varsity for 2, sometimes 3 years coming in. They're not going to be intimidated by the bright lights that is Montgomery County football.
Right.
Even though Jake Funk won't be in the backfield, they're coming back with Markus Vinson. He's a different type of player in terms of style and size.
Right.
Where Jake Funk brought a little bit of size and a little bit of power, Markus makes up for that in speed and elusiveness. I don't think I'm going out on a limb that's saying that Markus Vinson may be the fastest player in Montgomery County. If you hit the fastest player in the county, you're going to win a lot of games.
Right.
You put that fastest player on Damascus, now you're talking about another run at a state championship.
Right.
And,
right.
I mean, you mentioned him before. He's not showing up alone. He has Mikey Bradshaw coming in, the younger of the Bradshaw brothers. You have Jordan Funk, the younger brother of, or the youngest brother of the entire Funk clan, because there's a lot of them running around. Not to mention, he got his first offer to Navy earlier this year, so congratulations on that.
Right.
And a senior quarterback who's finally getting his shot to run the show, and Wade Rippon. So that alone, I don't need to know anything else about who they're playing, where they're playing, or the rest of the roster. Just those players alone, I would be confident in saying that Damascus is poised for another run. And then you have like things that we didn't know about coming into the season until 2 days started. They've added another running back with a transfer from Urbana in Elijah Atkins. I actually got a chance to see him live last year when Urbana took on Clarksburg. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, maybe even bigger going into this season. You can check out his tape on Huddle. He's a solid running back, and it'll give Damascus just another dimension in their already potent running game. Now, instead of maybe just going 70% the speed route, now you can mix in a little bit of power to keep opposing defenses, on their toes.
Right.
And if you come in having to guess what Damascus is going to do, it's going to be a long night. So, yeah, I expect more the same from the Swarming Hornets. We're going to have several blowouts this year, lots of running clocks.
Right.
With that being said, I think in the better teams that Damascus plays this year, the games may be a little bit closer.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with Damascus. That's just the other teams getting better. But yeah, I see no reason why Damascus can't get back to the state championship game and go for a back-to-back title and tack on the 9th title in the program's history.
Okay, everybody, we're here with Markus Vinson. The do-all, everything. He's a running back, wide receiver, cornerback, safety for the state champion, the reigning 3A state champion, Damascus Hornets. Markus, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot to do. So I appreciate the time. First and foremost, let's touch on that real quick. You guys are coming off a state championship win. That the high of that, the emotions of that. Take us through last season just real quick. I know you're trying to look ahead, but just real quick, if you can touch on last season, the emotions of that season and how that kind of filtered into the weight room, how that kind of filtered into the preseason prep as he got ready for the 2016 year.
Last season, that was just unreal, just the way that we beat people.
Right.
It was crazy, but yeah, going into the workouts and preseason, we just couldn't get complacent with, we won a state championship.
Right, absolutely.
Because we're trying to go back. But, yeah, everybody's just working hard, making sure we don't get too complacent, and a whole bunch of jobs are open up right now. So that's building up a lot of competition and making everybody else better.
Okay, and touch on that real quick. You said a lot of jobs are opened up. A lot of people look at Damascus and they say, they don't rebuild, they reload. Obviously you guys have a lot of great talent. How has that kind of kept the team sharp, and knowing that we're coming off a state championship win, but we have a lot of things that we need to take care of as far as, replacing some holes?
Yeah, it definitely makes you confident that you won a state championship, but you still have to know what you're doing and make sure you have the right guys and make sure you can go back and win again.
Right. Absolutely. Talk about, obviously, you guys had one of the greatest of all time on your team last year, in Jake Funk, and he's gone now. You're stepping into a role where the load is going to be on you, on offensively and defensively, to produce at a very, very high level. What are some of the things that you've done this year to make sure that you're ready to go in that role, whether it's conditioning wise, just mentally, physically, everything that has to do with it? What are some of the things in the offseason that you focused on to get ready for this season?
In the off season, I just been working with a DB coach. His name is Josh Pleasant, and I just been making sure I've been running on my own and just making sure I'm well conditioned, because I know I'm going to be playing everywhere. So
right,
got to be one of the most conditioned people on the field. But
right.
Yeah, mentally, I just don't put too much pressure on myself.
Absolutely.
Because if you pressure yourself, you're just not going to play well.
Right. Absolutely. You play all over the field. We've seen you at quarterback, we've seen you at running back, we've seen you at wide receiver, safety, corner. What's your favorite position? Corner?
Yeah.
What's the reason why corner?
Corner is just fun, just locking down people.
Right.
And just having all that pressure on you to stop their number one guy.
Right. Absolutely. Is there anybody in the county that you're looking forward to going against?
Sophie Bazzi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What going into the season, and obviously, like I said, we're you guys are trying to replace a few guys and everything like that. A lot of people are trying to pay attention to the quarterback position. How's that looking in training camp so far? Are you guys have you guys kind of settled on that yet? Obviously, you guys got to transfer in. How's that basically playing out right now, and how far along are you guys to basically naming a starter and going with it?
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to naming the starter since we have a scrimmage coming up.
Right.
But the competition's always open no matter what week it is.
Right. Absolutely. And also, just and before we continue, I just want to say congratulations on committing to Richmond. That's a really big thing for us in the county. And looking around the county, there's been a lot of kids going to Division I AA schools. Have you noticed that this year has been a really good year for Montgomery County kids getting offers and committing to schools and everything like that? And what do you think about that? What does that say about the county right now? Do you think that a lot of college coaches are noticing the talent that's in this county and coming here more?
Yeah, I mean, Moco has always had a whole bunch of talent. Right. But nobody's been really looked at like the kids in my class and the last year's class have been looked at. Right.
What do you think was a shift? Do you think it's a social media thing? Do you think it's just people just kind of paying attention more?
Yeah, definitely social media, and just really how coaches interact with other college coaches, like how your high school coach interacts with them.
Right. Absolutely. And just before this is the last question before I get you out of here. Obviously your brother George was a great player at Damascus, and you come from a football family. Being in a football family, being around guys like that helped your work ethic, helped your mentality, and helped your overall outlook on the game of football.
I mean, he's been pushing me since I was like 6, so
right.
It's definitely good to have someone older than you to show you what you need to do, like leadership-wise, and how you need to work in the weight room and just on the field.
Right. No, absolutely. Anything else that you would like to say before we get out of here?
I just can't wait till week 1.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming in, for stopping by. And, we'll definitely be, all eyes will be on that game week 1 versus QO. And we can't wait to see you guys, man.
All right, thanks for having me.
No problem. Number 2 on our list of the 5 big things is a team that, stand up and raise their hands after you say that and say, we're going to be the reason why they're not going to go back-to-back. And that's the Seneca Valley Screaming Eagles. Last year was a really good year for them. Really good is probably like an understatement, because they if it wasn't for Damascus, we could talk about them as state champions right now. Obviously, the great Adrian Phillips-Platt, he's returning this year. Darius Golson, he's returning this year. And also, a guy that I'm very interested to see is Zach Robinson. He got hurt in a scrimmage last year versus QO. Took him a while to come back, and by the time he got back, the former starting quarterback had to kind of change his position to contribute because Petey Gaskins had it rolling at that point, and was one of the more efficient quarterbacks in our area. I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to use Zach Robinson this year. Is he going to return as the starter at the quarterback position? Is he going to switch his position and maybe have somebody else to add another weapon on the other side, on the outside? I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to use Adrian Phillips-Platt and Darius Golson. Are they going to continue the thunder lightning approach? Are they going to try to give Adrian a little bit more touches in the backfield and make him the traditional running back that he was first came to Seneca? Are they going to maybe move Adrian to the slot a little bit more and give Darius the touches in the backfield? That's kind of a dynamic that I'm going to be looking at a little bit. But I think that those two guys, they're special, and I think that they're going to add something to the team that a lot of other teams don't have in the state. There's also a few other guys that they have returning, so I'm just really interested in Seneca, man. Seneca is a team that I really honestly believe can challenge and surpass Damascus if everything goes right for them, and injuries and things like that obviously play a part. But how do you feel about Seneca? What do you think they're gonna have to do to finally get over that hump? Not only to beat Damascus, because they've beaten Damascus before in recent memory, but to get over the hump, to get back to that Seneca Valley of old where they're going to the state championship and winning the state championship?
I don't think much has to change for the Seneca Valley Screaming Eagles. They held Damascus last year in the regular season matchup to Damascus's lowest offensive output of the season. Unfortunately for Seneca, they were unable to put a lot of points on the board on offense. So they got half the equation down, I think, from a scheme standpoint. They know what they need to do to limit Damascus's high potent offense. They just need to figure out how to convert on the third and fourth and shorts and put the ball in the end zone. With the majority of their roster coming back this year, I think they'll be in a better position to do that. If they can do that remains to be seen. Going into the season, obviously Damascus is going to be the favorite in that matchup, but we have a long time before we can see these two teams square off. We're looking at a week 9 matchup, and a lot of things can change in between now and then. So,
right.
If I'm Seneca, I'm not even thinking about Damascus right now. Right now, you just want to focus on Poolsville to open the season, because you got the King's Trophy in week 2, and that as usual is going to be a huge game. If Seneca can do like they did last year and pull out the victory versus Northwest, then it's pretty much smooth sailing until week 6 versus Watkins Mill. Like you mentioned, Adrian Phillips-Platt coming back again for another strong senior campaign. I expect him to have it. It's going to be hard for Platt to eclipse his sophomore and junior year campaigns. If he does, that will be amazing. But if he doesn't, it's not that he's not capable of. It's just that Seneca Valley has more weapons. They can afford not to give him the ball 40 times a game.
Right.
They can move him around. They can put him in the slot. They can put him in wide out. Heck, they can even take him off the field for a few plays to give him a breather if they choose to do so. And as much as we talk about Platt on the offensive side of the ball, for me, he's just as dynamic at the linebacker position. He's a playmaker. He has a nose for the ball. Regardless of where it is, there's a strong chance you'll see him around it at the end of the play on defense.
Right.
And as you mentioned before, Darius Golson, he's been a godsend for the Screaming Screaming Eagles. Not only does he spell Blues Black in the backfield, but sometimes they'll have both of them in the backfield at the back time. They are in the backfield at the same time, which is a nightmare for opposing defenses trying to figure out who you need to key in on. But yeah, just like Damascus, I expect 2016 to play out very similar for Seneca Valley. I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. I fully expect them to win at least one game in the playoffs. And then after that, all bets are off depending on who they face in the regional final. So, yeah, I'm literally making a prediction right now. I expect Damascus and Seneca Valley to rematch in the region final to go to the state semifinals. I'm very high on both of these teams. As good as they were last year, especially in Seneca's case, I expect them to be even better. Matter of fact, if we expand our predictions statewide, I got Damascus and Seneca Valley 1 and 2 as my favorites in 3A. Apologies to my friends up in Baltimore. I know you guys love Franklin, but yeah, this is just one of those situations where I wish they weren't in the same region. That would be a heck of a state final, but that's the way it is. Yeah, I expect big things out of Germantown this year.
Talking about Germantown a little bit is the third on the list of the 5 big things, and we're talking about Watkins Mill. And now Watkins Mill, in my opinion, is probably the most intriguing team in Montgomery County this year, and that has a lot to do with their quarterback, Markel Grant, who's coming back, I believe, for his 3rd season, rising junior. And this kid looks like he could be an absolute star at the quarterback position. I mean, he has all the tools. When you talk about some of the new age offenses that are being ran right now and the quarterbacks that fit them, I mean, he's the prototype. He's around 6'3", really solid built kid, can move, can do all the things, can throw the ball. He's an accurate thrower. I mean, and talking to his coaches, he seems like a great kid, hard worker. And they also have a bunch of weapons coming back. Last year they made the playoffs, faced Wheaton, fell to Wheaton after beating Wheaton the week before. I'm sure that was a kind of a disappointing moment for them, but I'm expecting huge things from Watkins Mill this year. Huge things from Watkins Mill this year. I'll go out on a limb, and I remember last year people kind of gave me hell about this, but I'm going to take it one step further. I think they're going to win 2 playoff games this year, and I think that they're going to be in the semifinals. So, I'm actually amping up my prediction a little bit from last year. I kind of had egg on my face a little bit last year, but that's fine. That's why I'm here. I think that Watkins Mill is a team that understands the position that they're in at this point now and understands what they can possibly do and conditioning themselves to, take what's in front of them. I'm wondering what you think about Watkins Mill, and if you think that I'm totally crazy for thinking that they possibly could win 2 playoff games and be in that Final Four, if you will, of the 3A playoffs.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you look at the breakdown of the regions, you have the 3A West, which I mentioned before, which is the region of depth in the state with top quality teams top to bottom. 3A South is pretty much the opposite. There is no one dominant team. Every team in that region has a legit shot of making the playoffs. And out of those 11 teams, I feel Watkins Mill is the best out of them all going into the season. For no reason alone other than there is no other player in that region like Markel Grant. As you mentioned, the sky is limitless for this kid. He has a 6'3", he's 6'3", and he has a lot of room to grow to put on some weight on that frame.
Right.
He's a rising junior. I mean, so when you have a player like that running your offense it makes your job as a coach that much easier. There are multiple times, if you go back and look at his film from last year, where the defense did a pretty good job of figuring out and stopping where the ball was supposed to go during the particular play, and Markel just does what he does and took what should have been a loss and turned it into a huge gain. He's just that kind of player, where if the first, second, third, and fourth options are taken away or aren't there, he'll just make something happen on his own.
Right.
So when you have that kind of player, I mean, the sky is limitless. I don't know how many times I can say that. And Markel Grant's not showing up alone. He has Daquan Limbs at the wide receiver position, who showed out last year. Hopefully, we'll see him on the field this year sometime soon, so he can pick back up on and build on what he did last year. And then there's several other players that are coming up through the JV and junior league ranks that should be able to add to what already Watkins Mill has going. Even though they went 5-5 last year, they did make the playoffs, and I just can't see them not bare minimum repeating what they did last year. I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. I'm with you. I fully expect them to win at least one game, and if they can get to the regional final, then all bets are off. There's a high probability they may see a team that they had already faced during the regular season. More than likely, one of the other teams they'll face is one of the PG County teams, which, based off of what we saw last year and this year in the preseason, Watkins Mill beating one of those two teams isn't a stretch of the imagination. And if we get that far, we're already in the state semifinals.
Exactly.
All bets are off then. We're ready to roll.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm extremely high on Watkins Mill this year. I expect the Wolverines to have a very strong season in 2016.
Absolutely. Me too, man. And you know, you mentioned Daquan Williams, Brian McNary, guys like that. I mean, they got weapons around this kid named Markel Grant, and I just feel like when you have a quarterback like that, and 95%, even I'll go say 99% of the time, you're probably gonna have the best quarterback on the field, right? You're always gonna have a shot. Now, are you gonna be favored in the game all the time? No, but you're always gonna have a shot, and you know, that's what Watkins Mill has right now. We transition over to our number 4 topic in the big 5, in the 5 big things. You know, and we just got done talking about Watkins Mill, another team that people are kind of looking at, a team that is looking to rival what Watkins Mill is trying to do, is Blake. Now, people look at Blake and they see that they obviously have a lot of work to do. I'm not trying to say that they don't. But when you look at the fact that Blake has two top players in their position group in MoCo rated by us, right? And they have a coach, and Coach Anderson, that's coming from Clarksburg. Clarksburg was a team that's always been built on toughness. Clarksburg was a team that's always in the running when it comes on to the playoffs. So Coach Anderson understands what it means to win, and he understands the how to build a winning mentality in a team. You know, that Blake is in a position that they can definitely make some noise this year. I mean, they have the talent to do it. I just think that it's part mental, one of those things where they're just gonna have to get over a mental block. I mean, you know, and the guy that I think that I'm looking at, I'm really excited to see is Jabari Jones, our number 1 rated linebacker. If you watch this kid play, you watch his film, I mean, real aggressive. He can play inside the box. He can play outside and rush the pass. I mean, he can basically do anything, right? They got a really, really young, and when I say really young, I'm talking about freshman, rising sophomore young defensive lineman coming back that ended up being our number one defensive lineman, I believe, rated by us, Max Timpson, and this kid's a rising sophomore. And you watch his film, I mean, the things that he was doing as a young player on varsity was amazing. So with all that coming back, you would think, but I think the hesitation is right now, Damon, we're talking about Blake. So there's apprehension to kind of put them in a role where it's like, okay, you can now, we need to see you, challenge for a playoff spot, all those kind of things. But if you look at the coaching staff and if you look at the talent that they have, they should be in that conversation. We should be putting that pressure on them to win playoff games. What do you think about Blake this season? Do you think that they might be able to get it done this season, maybe challenge for a playoff spot?
So ordinarily, I would emphatically say no, especially after their 2-8 season last year. But if it goes beyond just their final record, if you actually look at the tape from each of their 10 games, they were competitive in a lot of those. And then if you throw on the fact that they're playing in 3A South, going from 2-10 and getting to 5-5 or 6-4, that can get you in the playoffs in 3A South. So it's not crazy talk to speak about Blake, in that light as a possible playoff contender. Mm-hmm. But they're going to have to take care of business. 2 or 3 of those games last year, they probably should have won. I think Coach Anderson will be the first one to tell you that. Mm-hmm. So if they can correct the mistakes they made and stay focused for the regular season, they should be able to position themselves for a playoff run toward the end there. They have the talent, like you mentioned. You have Ty Mason at the wideout position, Max Timpson on the defensive line, Jabari Jones bringing up the linebacker core. And then if you want to dig deeper, you got Kenny Gardner in the secondary.
Yep.
They have very talented kids in multiple positions. They just need to come together as a unit and beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and then they'll be in a position to make a playoff run at the end of the season. So I'll definitely have my eye on the Bengals as the season progresses to see if they're able to build on what Coach Anderson's trying to do there.
No, absolutely. I mean, they got a team that if you take the talent that they have and put it on another team that, we just talked about Seneca and we just talked about Damascus, we will be saying that they're the prohibitive favorites in whatever division or whatever side that they be talking about. But because we're talking about Blake and even their recent history, you just said that you just mentioned their 2-8 record. Their recent history doesn't give us. It's not like they went 5-5 last year and we can say, hey, they're going to build. The recent history hasn't really given us much reason to, hope or believe that, they could challenge for anything. But you have to believe at some point what you're seeing on film. And what we're seeing on film is a team that has a lot of talent, that's well coached, and and you said it, being on that side with Watkins Mill and Wheaton, that just opens up the door for you. And I believe that Blake understands that they're in a position that a lot of other teams in this county don't have. And that position is, and you just mentioned it, you can go from worst to first really, really quickly, right? Because of the side that you're in. So with that being said, I do think that it's time for us to look at Blake and say, okay, you guys need to start producing now. And that's just kind of what it is. All right. So Damon, talking about production. Team that's been producing a lot has been Rockville over the last few years. They've been one of the better teams offensively in Montgomery County the last 3-4 years. Then now you turn to Magruder, a team that made the playoffs last year. Faced a Potomac team that kind of overwhelmed them a little bit. But definitely made some strides, and I feel like has some confidence going into this season. Obviously, the loss of Brian Juarez is gonna, hurt a little bit, but they got some kids coming back that I think that they definitely like. When you talk about Andrew Juarez, his brother, but yeah, they have some kids coming back that they like. Definitely, Rockville. Mr. William Sanchez is a kid coming off the edge that can do different things. How do you see, those two Rockville-based teams right there? Which one of the Rockville teams do you feel like is going to make that step into possibly challenging, Watkins Mill for that, for that crown as the team that we should be looking for to go far in the playoffs and make some noise and possibly, make a run?
Strictly based off of each team's success in 2015, I'm leaning toward the Magruder Colonels. They made the playoffs last year. They played well, but just didn't have enough juice to beat Potomac out of PG County last year. Just strictly based off of the trajectory that Magruder has made over the past 2 to 3 seasons, I really like where they're headed. Coach Fowl has done an excellent job taking the talent that he has and having them gel and work as a unit.
Right.
With that being said, Rockville is not without talent. They have 2 very good players that you may want to take a look at some point during the season. Michael Young at wide receiver and William Sanchez on the defensive line. But just as an overall unit, I'm liking Magruder a little bit more. That's not to say I would love to see Rockville make another run similar to what they did 2 years ago with Chuck Reese, but they graduated a lot in 2014, and the kids last year just now getting their feet wet. They have to go through the growing pains of replacing their mad scientist offensive coordinator who's now running the ship at Springbrook. But I think Rockville will be okay in the long run. They have a strong feeder program, community support's there. They just going through a down period right now, but I think they'll be okay in the long run. They will certainly be competitive.
Right.
But in between those 2 teams, I'm definitely leaning toward Rockville. Like I mentioned, it doesn't take much to get into the playoffs in 3 South. Magruder did it last year. They squeaked in the back door, but I'm sure if you ask anybody over there, they'll take it every time.
Right.
They did what they were supposed to do. They can't control what other teams do, so hopefully they can expand on what they did last year. Going 5-5, that was a good campaign for Magruder. They got into the playoffs. Got bounced in the first round, and nothing would make me happier to see them get a W, and we can have an all-MoCo region final in 3A South.
Right.
Whether that's Magruder or Blake or Watkins Mill, or if Rockville can come up and surprise us, that would be great too. I'll take it any way we can get it. But as it stands right now, I'm leaning Magruder over Rockville in terms of season success.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Damon, do you have anything else that you want to say?
Yeah. So we're officially underway. 2 days have started. Kids and coaches are out there sweating. I hope you guys are staying hydrated, staying loose. Nothing's worse than having an injury in the first week of practice. We got a couple of scrimmages coming up this weekend. I do believe on the 19th we have a quad with Gaithersburg, Damascus, and River Hill and Suitland. That's going to be at Gaithersburg at 5 o'clock. On Saturday the 20th, we have two of the premier programs in Montgomery County, public and private, going ahead. We've got Quince Orchard at Good Counsel at 10 o'clock. I'm going to be out there. If you see me, just holler at me. Just don't curse at me.
Right. Keep it civil out there.
And the last scrimmage that I'm aware of, another quad, this will be up at Middletown in Frederick County. Middletown, Gwinnell, Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, and Watkins Mill. Now, I'm sure there are several other scrimmages. I'm just not aware of their times and locations. So if you guys want to send us a message on the message boards, mocofb.com, or you can hit me up at Twitter at Nomad Anderson, and just give us any information you may have, and we'll get it out to the masses.
Absolutely. Well, again, shout out to all the kids and the players and coaches that are out there, busting their tails to make this season possible. And this was our 3A preview. Next up, we're going to be previewing the 4A East and everything that's going on over there. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Peace.